recently watched an Asmongold video on the topic of monetization, primarily but not exclusively in MMO games, and whilst he has some level of nuance on the topic, felt my perspective on this might add to the conversation. In recent years, it has been the rallying cry of far-left game journalists to decry greedy game publishers and out-of-control pricing, which makes a lot of sense from the leftist perspective. However, unless you're a full-blown communist or don't understand economics at all, this argument falls flat because it ignores market factors, basic functions of a company, and the realities of working within a market that has fixed box copies of the game at the same price with only one change for almost 40 years. I don't think Asman is a communist. In fact, he's often rather libertarian, but I do think he, like many gamers, doesn't understand some basic economic principles at play here and felt that I can elaborate. Value is subjective. This includes, as we are seeing full well in the stagflation economy, the value of money. This means, in essence, a thing is worth what someone will pay for it. A priceless painting at the end of the day is just a $20 canvas and $15 worth of paint. If you say, well, the work of the artist has value too, well, maybe so, but surely that alone isn't worth millions of dollars. Why then are some paintings worth millions and others worth $100 and still others worth less than the canvas that they are painted on? Partly the name value of the painter. Famous painters are just worth more because they're famous. Partly because of the rarity of the painting. Dead painters' work is more valuable because there won't be any more. And partly just how much the buyer likes it. Humans, you see, act in ways that we cannot centrally plan or account for. I might see a bowl of fruit, but you see a beautiful lady in a suggestive pose, at least until Blizzard hears about it. Then they'll make it a bowl of fruit too, but I digress. The point is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say, and you and I are willing to pay different prices for the same thing. The owner, then, has a preference generally for whichever number is higher, because more money is better than less money. Or maybe he thinks both of our offers are too low and holds it for a better offer. I hear Bobby Kotick likes fruit bowls. So, you can predict how much either of us will like the painting, but you can't predict how much we will or will not pay for it, or if Bobby K comes in with bags of cash and outbids us. This is called the concept of human action. First coined by Ludwig von Mises, the concept is that humans are unpredictable and will act in ways that you didn't and couldn't see ahead of time, mostly around the fringes. You can see this in action whenever a new game launches, or a new patch or a new expansion in the MMO world. The race to find exploits is on, to break the game, to find the meta build that is overpowered as fuck. Developers expect this to happen. They spend a lot of time trying to prevent it, but still, every time, like clockwork, some exploit, bug, overpowered build, or way of making money appears. This is why beta testing is even a thing, even for studios with full teams of QA testers whose job is to find this stuff. Still, it makes it to live updates because humans are wired to find these things. What does any of this have to do with microtransactions? Well, everything, really. Firstly, in Asman's video, he recognizes inherently that pay to win has no definition. It works on a sliding scale, which is quite convenient for people like Jim Sterling, side note, fuck Jim Sterling, and makes it so that they can argue with anything and everything being pay to win. Commonly cited examples of pay to win originally meant buying power directly with real world money on a cash shop, i.e., there is a sword that is better than every other sword in the game and will one-shot anything it hits, but you can only acquire this sword via buying it with real-world money on the official cash shop. This is what I would hold up as the gold standard of pay-to-win. Many old-school Korean grinder MMOs did this. However, there does seem to be different flavors of pay-to-win, and perhaps we can more specifically define them and give them a label that's more fitting as to what they are. So the next thing is this extended to, well, you can earn it in-game or buy it directly with cash shop money. These kinds of games would be more apt to be called pay or grind to win, meaning the player can trade either real world money directly via the official cash shop or spend hours in game trying to get the item to drop/earn the currency to buy it. Another system in this vein is the upgrade system, seen in Black Desert Online and Lost Ark more recently, where one can earn the materials to upgrade an item, but there is a chance that it fails and requires exponentially more time to grind. The chance for failure goes up exponentially every time you upgrade it, which at a certain point does incentivize spending cash directly in the store instead. This is pay or grind to win, and the grind gets longer and longer until your patience runs out, and you either quit, no life the game, or swipe your card. The next tier down the scale is gray market pay or grind to win. This is a newer kind of game. I first experienced this in the game Rift. However, it's also prevalent in EVE Online, ArcAge, and yes, World of Warcraft. This is a system where some kind of direct cash shop official store purchase allows you to buy something that reduces your grind. In the case of Warcraft, which we will use for this example, this is gold. You can then use that gold to buy things on the auction house, mounts that are expensive and other items, but the biggest thing is you can buy carries. This is a player-provided service and exists in a gray market area because they cannot accept direct cash payments. However, the purchase of gold means that there is a one-to-one transaction that equates gold to real-world currency. There is a black market version of this, which does exist commonly in games like classic World of Warcraft, where it is against the terms of service explicitly, yet they still sell gold and still use gold for GDKP runs and carries. For those who don't know, carries is when you pay someone to run you through harder endgame content, usually with in-game currency like gold. You can get carried to gear, special items, mounts, titles, and other things. The reason this is gray market, pay or grind to win, is simple. You can not do this and just earn all this yourself with a guild. Hence, you can grind to win. So while you can pay to win, you can also grind to win, but there exists a gray market that facilitates the paying to win on a larger scale. One rung further down this scale, and we see boost items and convenience items. This is something like experience potions, pets that auto-loot, level boosts, and so on. These don't give a direct advantage like buying power, but give an indirect time advantage, and are designed more for the player who has less time to game and more money. Everyone ends up at the same end goal here, more or less, but one requires less time. It's still an advantage though, especially early on in a launch patch cycle, where min-max types and world first guilds would consider these things to be mandatory because they are about efficiency, as well as people who wish to farm the economy, because nothing's better than having a fresh area for high level loot that nobody else can touch. Finally, although there is much gray area and overlap in all of this, we get to the bottom of the pay-to-win scale, with cosmetic-only items. Most gamers see this as not a problem. You can buy a cosmetic item on the official cash shop for money. However, the Jim Sterling crowd argues that cosmetics are winning in their mind, therefore buying them is pay-to-win. The problem here is they aren't making these arguments in good faith. Jim Sterling is an avowed communist, who opposes the very notion of making money and thinks everything should be free and shared and we all sing kumbaya. You know, after they forcibly take your property and give it to somebody else, and if you resist, kill you. So after that part, you get all your video games for free, except you won't have time to play them because you'll be in the mines, but whatever. The perspective, and yes, it is politically motivated, has nothing to do with games. And it is putting the cart before the horse. Sterling would argue against any payment model in games because Sterling inherently hates money. Except for all that 20 grand a month on his Patreon. That money's fine. Keep it rolling in, peasant. Oh, the game has a box price. Well, I can't win without playing the game, and I need to pay to play the game because it has a box price, therefore Elden Ring is pay to win. This is the kind of argument that they are making. And the reason that the Sterlings of the world won't make that argument yet is because they know how stupid it is, and it will undermine all their other points. And all this then brings us back to the original point. Value is subjective, and humans act unpredictably. These two things intertwine to create a system where pricing happens. Say, for example, I made a game, and it was pay to win. I have one item, a sword. The sword one-shots any creature or other player, and other than that, the game is 100% free. I can set that sword for any price that I like. Well, firstly, I have to cover the costs to make the game. Let's say that number is $1 million, just for simplicity's sake. Well, easy answer, I just sell one sword for $1 million, fishing for a whale, as it were. If I sell two, I've doubled my money, right? The thing is, you heard that price for one item in a game and thought, well, nobody's probably going to buy that. And it is unlikely that any whale would bite on a price that high. Maybe one would, but $1 million microtransaction, and yes, it is ironic to call it a microtransaction, but details. Well, there's a reason we don't see this a lot. Okay then, what about $100,000? Then I only need to sell 10. It's still a lot to ask though, and well, what if from the opposite direction? Maybe set it all to $1 for the sword. Well, that's a price so low, we're bound to sell 1 million of them. The problem being, you've now trivialized the game for basically every user willing to pay $1. Pay to win only works when it's some users who have the extra power. If everyone gets the sword of one tap, then the game is now moot and they will leave. What you will inevitably come to is something like $100. Exclusive enough that most people won't have it, but high enough a price to sell the 10,000 swords needed to cover the costs and maybe more. Well, say you didn't want to be full pay to win anymore then. Now you have added a reputation grind that will take 1,000 hours, but the players can earn the sword in game. So in the end, everyone can get the sword, but only people who invested lots of time or lots of money will have the sword. However, say user 12345 discovered a bug that gives out the sword for free. He slapped a tree 18,000 times in this specific area, which gives max reputation instantly, and now everyone can get the sword. Well, certainly we didn't plan on that, and our testers wouldn't have found something like that because, I mean, who would hit a tree for 12 hours? Okay, we fixed the bug. Now we have a problem. Do we allow the users to keep the sword and you won't ever sell any, but they'll be happy? Or do you take the swords away and ban user 12345 and they won't be happy, but also will see the sword as less valuable because they had it for free? Either way, you have to pay your staff and put food on your table. The office space company is asking for rent, the power and server bills are due, and these players are calling you greedy now and writing bad reviews on MMO Champion. The CEO is saying you're going to be fired if you don't figure this out and fast. The shareholders are demanding a return on investment, and your doctor says you now have an ulcer. Price the sword right now. There's no easy out to this hypothetical and no answer, just a scenario to consider. So what do we as gamers do? How do we solve this problem, as clearly some pricing on things is bad and can and does ruin incentive structures? Well, you know the answer, but unfortunately for you, human action creeps up once again. Say you don't play the games with bad monetization, but everyone is playing Lost Ark. Yeah, that's why gamer boycotts don't work, because humans are unpredictable. I'm reminded of the famous screenshot of the Boycott Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Steam group, where almost every member of it was playing Modern Warfare 2 at launch. Value is subjective, and guess what? Your morals and principles, their value to other people, even people claiming to share them with you, is zero. They're gonna play the game, and if the pricing bothers you, don't play it. If enough people follow that axiom, you might start to see change. I'm Max Sand of the Maxine Position and Right to Offend Media, and I humbly ask that you share this video if you like it or hated it. Join us on our Gilded server, check out our Rumble channel, which mirrors all of this content, and thank you for watching.